Hello everyone, welcome to yet another video on the Camera7 channel. I am your host Amber, and in today's video I'm going to share with you a bunch of tips inside Adobe After Effects. These tips are meant for beginners, but if you are an intermediate or professional level user, I'd recommend that you stick around and watch the whole video, because you never know, you might learn something that is insanely useful. Because even after working in this software or any other software for years, we are still discovering new features on a daily basis. Alright, so the first tip that I'm going to give every single beginner out there. Say, for example, some of your panels disappear. Like, oh no, all these panels, I'm closing them. No, I'm not supposed to do that. Why am I closing all these panels up? Oh no, my panels, they've all disappeared. How do I bring them back? A lot of people will say to you that you just click here and reset to save layout. Yes, you can do that. This is basically a tab here which shows you all the workspaces that are available to you. Now, there's a variety of workspaces that you can work in. Now, I prefer to use the default workspace and bring in panels as and when I require them. I could go here and click on Reset to Save Layout. Alternatively, I can just go to Window, and from here I can bring out all the panels that I've closed out. So, for example, if I want to bring the composition panel back, then we have to bring the timeline, which for this, let's first of all make a new composition, and there's the timeline right here. Now, if I want to bring the tracker window, it's right here. I can bring the align panel from here. You can bring any of the panels in Adobe After Effects from here. And this also works in Premiere Pro, Photoshop, as well as Adobe Illustrator. You will have a window button here, which is going to have all the panels. So you can bring up any of the panels that are missing. Look, even After Effects has its own version of the Essential Graphics panel, which is used for making motion graphics templates, or MOGRTs as we like to call them. So for this next one, I'm going to have to make a shape. Let's make this is a rectangle, definitely a rectangle. Now, as you can see, there's this little thing here. I'm just going to press P to bring up the selection tool. And as you can see, this little thing here is not in the center of that. That is the anchor point. If you want to centralize it, there are hundreds of tools that can do it for you, but Adobe actually has a built-in way of doing it. So there's this little thing here called the Pan Behind Anchor Point tool. We can click that and then we can bring it to the center. But if you want it to be extremely precise, hold down Control if you're on Windows and double click it. Boom. The anchor point is completely in the center. Now, the anchor point's position is very important because properties like rotations, scale are manipulated by the anchor point. So, for example, if the anchor point was here, and if I change the rotation, look at that. See? That's a feature of the anchor point that you have to remember. This next step is very, very, very useful for most of us out there. So, I want to put this in the center of the composition. Now, I can click it and do it visually if I want to, but it's not going to be precise. That's exactly why when I click this there, I have certain tools inside After Effects, which are the Align tools. Again, if you can't find these tools here, you can go to Window and get the Align tool right here. So this Align panel basically lets you align the objects based on either the composition or the selection. Now, the selection is grayed out because right now I only have one layer. If I have multiple layers, say for example, I also add a circle here and then I select both of them, now the selection option is opened. Let me show you the difference. First of all, we're going to center the anchor points on both of them. And if I do that, as you can see, it is centralizing it relative to the elements themselves. That's how the selection works. But if you want to centralize it relative to the frame itself, which right in this case is a vertical frame, I just realized that. We go to composition now and click. See? Now these two elements are now in the dead center of the frame. Now in this step, I'll show you something. Now if we click here and we have these tabs here, Contents and Transform, right? Contents has all these settings here. Transform has all these settings here, right? Now say for example, you only wanted to show a specific property of a layer. For example, I only want to play around with the position property. So what I typically, it would look like this. So what I typically do is I'd open this and then open this, right? And then I'd play with the position. Don't have to do that. Just close it up and then just select the layer like this or like this. Just press P. And if you want to open the scale, S, R for rotation, T for opacity, which again, that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but think of it like this. T for transparency is similar to opacity. So I remember it like this. A for anchor point. Now there are some other keyboard shortcuts that you can actually look up, and those you will find inside the keyboard shortcuts menu. If I can just bring up the, there we are. This is the keyboard shortcuts menu. If you want to open that, Control Alt apostrophe for opening up the keyboard shortcuts, or you can go to Edit Keyboard Shortcuts. Right, now this next step is sort of a variation of what I just showed you. If I want to change the position of both of them, I can select both these layers and then I can press P, position, scale, rotation, opacity, anchor point. I'll go for position right now. And if I want them to move simultaneously, I can do this. Yeah. This is something that Premiere Pro does not let you do. And this is a godsend. I can move the position of objects without altering the alignment of the elements. That's insanely useful. This also works for the scale property. This is that one feature in After Effects that I genuinely wish Adobe would implement in Premiere Pro. Fun fact, even though Premiere Pro does not have this feature, I recently found out that DaVinci Resolve lets you do that. Very, very useful and a complete godsend when it comes to moving objects without breaking the alignment. Right, so this next step is very useful for everyone out there. If I select both these layers and I'm going to just animate them. So I'm going to press P and I'm going to turn on the stopwatch, then just move it here. That's very far ahead. I'll move it here and then just have it go up here. And now if I go to the start by pressing home on my keyboard, this is the animation I have, but it's the wrong way around. I wanted it to animate like this. Instead, it's animating it like this. Do I reanimate it? No. I can select these keyframes like that. I can right click. And in Keyframe Assistant, we have this thing called as the time reverse keyframes. I have a custom keyboard shortcut set up for it, which is Control R. It animates like this. Another quick tip that I'd like to give you, which is gonna help you so much better in motion design and other things, is working with the graph editor. So I'm just gonna select all the keyframes and press F9 to easy ease them. By the way, if you want to know how I can do that without the keyboard shortcut, then just right click on it, Keyframe Assistant, click on Easy Ease. You don't have to click on Easy Ease in or Easy Ease out, just click on Easy Ease. It does the same thing, exact same thing. Now there's a button here, this is the graph editor button. I go here, it brings up this. Now you might be wondering, what the heck is that? So graph editor basically lets you edit the velocity and the value graph of certain things. Doesn't make sense? Let me show you how. Let's click this layer here. And then click on the property that is keyframe, which in this case is position. Look at that. It just showed that to us. Like, scroll here like this and move it here. As you can see, that's our graph. So it looks like this right now. Right? Now, I can actually alter them however I want to. All I have to do is select it here like this. And then you see these handles here. If you hold down Shift and drag them, this lets us alter the velocity of the graphics. Let me show you. As you can see, this one has a very different speed compared to this one. Earlier, it was like this. And now it's something like this. See? This is an insanely useful feature. Now, a lot of beginners actually are confused here because they mess around with their graphs and it doesn't end up animating like this. It behaves differently. Well, if I click this little button here, it will allow you to change between a speed graph or a value graph. A value graph basically lets you move it farther. For example, if I want this to go farther down, I just push it up. Yeah, now it's going farther down. See? If I want to not start so high up, I move it here like this. So that's the value graph. The speed graph, which is this one, it lets you alter the velocity all the objects are moving. This is an insanely useful and an insanely powerful trick, which just adds that little bit of polish. And if you want to turn it off, click the graph editor here again. By the way, if I would now also want to keyframe the scale properties, I just have to hold down Shift and press S. And if I can do the same, hold down Shift, press R, opacity comes out, now the anchor point comes out. I'm holding down Shift and then pressing the buttons. Now if I press it again, see, I'm holding down Shift as well. So that's really cool. But say for example, they're all collapsed and I press Shift S, trying to bring up scale property, nothing's happening. I have to make sure that one of the properties is available. In this case, it's scale. So now I can bring out the position property, the rotation, the opacity as well. So that's it for today's video. Now I have a lot more tips for you coming in the near future. Till then, like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys next time.